Hello everyone and welcome back to another book review. Today I am going to be reviewing... I realized that I didn't practice saying this word beforehand. Hrafnkel's Saga and Other Stories. So this is what the book looks like. It's pretty short. It's a little over 100 pages, I believe. Yep, 120 some odd pages. And it's done by the Penguin Classics. So this book, we're going to go with Hrafnkel's Saga, and Other Stories, is actually a collection of 6 sagas from the Icelandic saga era. So I had the privilege of being able to take a course in college on Icelandic geology, yep, and history, and it kind of combined those two things together in advance of a trip that we took to Iceland to experience these things. And one of the things we did a lot of in this class was read the sagas, and there's a lot of sagas that came out of the Icelandic tradition, but some of those are very, very long, or they're kind of a little bit more of a commitment. I definitely recommend reading them if you're interested, but these are much shorter and might be good for someone who is just wanting to get interested in seeing what's kind of out there. So these, like I said, are 6 sagas, and I'm gonna read the titles. They just kind of describe pastoral society, and then also there's some that describe adventures in Scandinavia, so people who went to Scandinavia and had some adventures, and it's just kind of like, they're stories, but they're more like day-to-day life, and they're just kind of interesting snippets in the way that society was run, stuff like that. So the ones that are included in this book are Hrafnkel Saga, Thorstein, the Staff-Struck, Alehood, Hreidar the Fool, Halldor Snorrason, Audun's story, and Ivar's story. So the first thing that I would recommend if you choose to read these is to keep a piece of paper nearby to keep track of the characters. This is something I found when I was reading the bigger sagas, is that I feel like a lot of the names sound familiar. They do have a very convenient list in the back of personal names. This is just like, it's 2 or 3 pages. So you can figure out who people are, but there's a lot of names that sound very, very similar if these are names that you're not familiar with. For example, you have Thord Rafelsson, Thord Thorgrimsson, Thordis Thorolf's daughter, Thorfinn, Thorgir, Thorhall, Thorir, Thorkel, Thormod, Thorolf, Thorstein, Thorvald. Now, of course, these are spread over the 6 stories, but that's a lot of names that as you start reading them, and they all have last names, but they all kind of start to run together. At least for me personally, I found it very helpful to have a piece of paper nearby and kind of keep track of what everyone was doing in the story, because it just kind of made more sense to me. That being said, something that has always surprised me about these sagas is the readability into the modern day. I feel like I'm not bogged down by very technical language, or it's not inaccessible despite being written in the 13th century. It's very, very readable to the modern person. Obviously this is translated, but the translation was really well done in a way that I feel like I could read it, and it maintained a lot of the original character without being unreadable to the modern reader. It's very enjoyable. The speech, what would you call it, like the dialogue, feels very, it's not like flowery and fake. It feels like how people would really speak. There are some elements of like general Icelandic society that the author of these sagas would have assumed their reader or their audience would have known about, like the arbitration process. They do include some notes, if I remember correctly, at the bottom, so they do kind of explain some of these elements, but you definitely might have to look some stuff up. So they do include some footnotes to help you through some of those cultural things that the writer of these sagas would have just assumed you would have known. I think my favorite out of all of these was probably Alehood, but again, these are kind of short sagas, so I don't want to go too far into them to explain what the story is. I want to leave that up to you, but I do highly recommend, if you're looking to get into sagas, if you want to start reading classics, if you want something that's really readable to a modern reader, but still interesting and a classic, I think this would be a great place to start. It's pretty short. If you don't have a lot of time, you can get through 6 of these. Just pop it on your nightstand and read a little bit each night, and you can get through 6 of these pretty quickly. They're enjoyable, they're entertaining, and I think it's a great place to start. I do recommend this. I'd probably give this a 4-star. I just feel like it's well done. It's a classic. It's a little older, but I don't think that matters because you are working with a classic book. So yeah, this translation was published in 1971. But yeah, I just enjoy it. I highly recommend it. And I think if you're looking for a place to start, this book is the place for you. So if this sounds interesting, check it out. Let me know what you think about this in the comments down below. Please let me know if I was saying this name right. I'm going to look it up after this video because I realized I didn't do that before I started. But yeah, let me know what you think about this. Other than that, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.